Hi. Do you ever feel like some people around you are like non-player characters? NPC, non-player character, is defined as a character or a being, a person, who is not controlled by a player. Specifically, if you're a consciousness, then you are the player controlling the physical body. And a lot of times we look around and there's a lot of people around us, but we don't know if it's really a conscious being controlling that body or if it's actually a little program running it. And if you ever felt like this has happened to you, if you ever felt like you have met an NPC, please write your story. What were they like? What were they doing? I decided to make this little video because usually I don't go out that much, or at least I didn't used to go out that much. So I wasn't really seeing them. They weren't really in my reality. Like, yeah, I've heard about the term, I've heard people talking about it, but it wasn't really a thing in my world. And like, okay, whatever, if they exist, they exist. I don't really care. But lately, having a dog is like going outside for a walk for 2, 3, 4 times a day. And lately I've just been seeing more and more of these people that just, there's no way a conscious human being would act like some of them. Like, it's literally a program running that being. And for me, like, my experiences was like literally, I took out my dogs out. So I have one. I usually go for walks with one dog, but there's Rich's dog, and if Rich is not feeling good or he has something to do, I'm gonna take both out. So I took both dogs out, and there's a lot of space. Evening, no people, calms, like really enjoyable. And out of the blue, there's like these 3 girls across the highway. No people, no cars, nothing. And there's like 3 girls with 3 dogs. And I'm like, all right, just whatever to do. I'm enjoying my walk. And they just decide walking straight wherever they see me. And they turn right at me and cross the highway without thinking about anything. And instead of walking anywhere else, instead of just, going wherever they would like to go or seem that they should go somewhere, they walk right at me with their 3 dogs. And they stop, like, literally they get so close that I'm holding these, I don't know, 60-pound dogs on each hand. And like, I think the other one is like getting close to 70 or 80 pounds. And in my mind, I'm holding 2 dogs, 60 on one hand, 70, 80 on the other, probably just like trying to hold them real tight because they're so eager to play. And there's like 3 close to Chihuahuas and Bichons and everything else. They're like really crouching, just like barking and everything else. And of course, like playtime, that would be great. But these girls just walk up straight at me, don't say a word, and just look at me with their dogs running around and all this stuff. And I'm like, hi, do you need anything? Not a single answer. They just look at me like literally nothing, no reaction, nothing. They just look at me, the dog's running around, and if I step, they step forward, and I'm like, what the fuck, man? So that was kind of like weird. And holding these kind of dogs, when it's winter, when there's ice and it's slippery as hell, I'm like, okay, when I'm slipping, I'm getting close, like my dogs are gonna pull me real hard, and like I'm getting closer inch by inch. And my dog Tanji is getting there with his choppers, like gonna like get the dog. And wasn't really a fight or anything else, but scared their dog shitless and they ran away. And I'm like, poor babies, like I wish they would get along and stuff like that. But like, what's up? And these girls just stood there and just like looked right at me and nothing happened. Like, like no reaction, nothing. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? This is so weird. And like that happened once. And I'm like, okay, I got over it. I just got away and like, fuck that shit, And today, funny thing, very similar circumstances. I go see my mom and finally like talked her into going for a walk with me and my dogs. And she's holding one dog, I'm holding the other, we're walking and everything's fine. Bunch of people around, bunch of dogs around, everything's fine. But we get to this place where there's like very narrow, let's say, sidewalk. And then there's like parking lots and everything else, bunch of space. And my mom, like we're walking on this like sidewalk, it's very narrow. So we're pretty much like taking like me, dog, mom, dog, we're taking up the whole space. And at the other side, like, there's like mom, daughter, and their little puppy coming straight at us. And like, instead of, hey, 2 fucking big ass dogs walking straight at us, I think we should just go around, where it's safe, where we don't have any, possible harm to our dog or ourselves, because those are big dogs. nothing like that. You just walk straight at us and again stops and looks at us. It's like completely nothing, not a single response. They just look at you and their dog's going like, like just like, hey, what's up? Like where's like playing or whatever. Humans, no single response where you talk to them, like like what the fuck, man? So for me, I've been noticing things like that once, like once and twice and again and again and again. And I'm like, what was I focusing on and what was I doing before that happened? And I noticed that like I've been feeling really good. I've been feeling confident. I was working on my manifestation things, like, like focusing on affirmations on myself, enjoying the walk, feeling really positive, and it's all going great. And then the experience happens. And it's like, that's like confrontable. I can handle the dogs, but it doesn't take much for one little mistake and, oh, you're going to the court because your dog bit my dog or whatever else, like that's like possibilities of all the negative things. And people like, who in the hell acts like that, So for me, I've just been seeing that things like that, like you try to get better in life, you try to achieve something, you try to work on yourself, get better, you're working on something important for yourself, for other people, and then stuff like that happens. And it's like basically like a program to throw you off your track, to get you distracted, to get you pissed off. If you're really on your goal, working on something important for yourself or others, it doesn't matter. But that was your project. That was something you were really involved in. And it takes one little thing like that to throw you off. And now you're like looking at who does that? What kind of people would do that? Why? And, we're so consumed into that like one event, possibly. There's that negative talking turns in, or like a lot of thinking about the situation. And, then that stuff will happen more and more and more because the program got you. And so for me, like these things happen and I have to be aware that, hey, it's a trigger. Is that game is rigged? It's a cheat or something. If you're doing something right, if you're getting better in life, if you're achieving something, they have to push you around. They have to trigger you to get you off your track, to get you triggered, to get you pissed off. And all of a sudden you're back into manifesting same old stuff that used to happen to you before, or at least all the good results that you could have gotten is on the stop and like, oh, on hold, you can't get it there. Man, it's amazing. But for me, the most important part is like being aware that, like, hey, no normal people would do that to you ever. Like they would at least respond. They would have some sort of reaction at least, but there's no soul at all in their eyes. Like you look deep in their eyes and, you can at least like, you look into their eye and you see their soul. Nothing like that. You can look at as much as you want. It's like literally looking into the abyss, but still like nothing there. The abysses even don't look back at you. So it's like, just have to be aware, you get pissed off, you get those emotions, or like, like you look at that whole incident and why and all the stuff, but you have to realize that these incidents, like even for me, I'm like, hey, stop, focus back on what I was doing, because this is a trigger. This is supposed to get me off my track. And I can either get consumed by it, think about it too much, and then, nothing's going to change anyway, except I'm going to have the emotions I have and I'm going to express it some way or focus on it more. Or I can just like acknowledge that it happened and let it go and get back on focusing on what is important to me. So yeah, I know a lot of people that I talk to, like all my clients and others that have people like that in their life too. More like NPCs, non-player characters, just beings, physical bodies without any consciousness, without any soul in there. And it's controlled by the program, and it's like weird things. You don't get any response from them, but they get into your life and they fuck with you, or they do something to trigger you. They get into your space. They try to have you lose your sovereignty or focus on something negative, and all of a sudden, you just get stopped. You just like, hey, distraction, or like, procrastination. I have to work on something else. I have to solve the present time problem instead of work on something big that I was like really focusing on. And we just have to be aware that, hey, it's a trigger, it's a distraction. These things will happen because the program doesn't like you winning. The program doesn't like you, the prisoner, trying to escape from the prison and actually, hey, you're not a prisoner anymore. You're a godlike being. You can do everything. They don't want you getting out of that game. So this stuff will happen. And if you're aware of it, you will not dwell in the incident too much. You will not dwell in those emotions. You can acknowledge that it happened, and let it go and work on something better that you were working on before. So that being said, hey, if any of you had incidents like this, met these NPCs in your life, please write about them, because it's happening to everyone once in a while. And I wonder how many of you have already experienced it in some way. Or if not, hey, lucky you, man, lucky you. So that being said, hey, thank you for watching my video and letting me rant and get it off. I just really wanted to address this and be aware myself. Talking to you makes me hey, everything I'm saying, I have to apply to myself. And all these incidents, it's not NPCs, it's there to trigger me, it's there to stop me, get back on what I was focusing on, just do that and get back on the track. So that's what I'm going to do. And hopefully this gives you some insights, or at least, hey, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.